Homestead, and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about Russia and Putin and World War III, which is just awesome because I just did a video a day or two ago talking about avoiding extravagant views of the end times and not needing to fear, which is true. The righteous do not need to fear. I'm not one for fear-mongering. I hate it. I hate blowing things out of proportion, but at the same time, we do have to acknowledge reality, and, well, this is the new reality that was just brought to my attention. I was looking on Facebook. I'm friends with my friend from Spain, served in the same mission, and he shared this article saying, warning, Putin could declare a world war within days. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to look into that too much further, because I was just like, I don't know. But then I started seeing more things, and it seems like there's actually something to this. Now, my view on this whole thing with the war in Ukraine, I was surprised that it happened, at least to the scale that it's gotten to. I figured that he would probably try and do something similar to what he did in Crimea, and just try and take the Donbass and the Luhansk areas in the eastern part of the country. But they essentially tried to take over the entire country, which blew me away. It's the largest land war in Europe since World War II. I didn't think that they were going to try and do that, but they did. Now, they haven't succeeded. I thought that if this was going to happen, that it would happen relatively quick, and within like maybe weeks, they'd be able to take the country. But that has not been the case. So at this point, let's read some of these articles and then comment, and let's talk about this. Okay, so this is the one that Daniel shared with me. UK Defense Secretary warns Vladimir Putin could declare a new world war within days. Britain's defense secretary has warned Russian President Vladimir Putin could declare a new world war on a particular date in May. And that is just coming up. At the time of this recording, this is May 1st. It says Vladimir Putin could declare a new world war within days. Britain's defense secretary Ben Wallace has warned. The warning comes after a Russia commentator claimed the invasion of Ukraine could end in a nuclear conflict. Now, going back, I remember when Putin put his nuclear forces on alert, but I figured back then, well, it's probably just like a warning to NATO, like, don't mess with what we're doing. I personally tend to think that this will not happen, but I'm not going to say that it can't. But at the same time, I didn't see them trying to take the whole country either. So I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. All we can do is kind of read what people familiar with these things think. So that's what we're going to do. Mr. Wallace said the Russian president might use traditional Victory Day celebrations on May 9th, which commemorate the end of World War II, to call up troops for a war with the world's Nazis, the Sun reports. Okay, so they celebrate Victory Day. It's May 9th, and he's thinking that he may use that day to, declare war, expand the war, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so he also said Russia's occupation of Ukraine risked becoming, quote, a sort of cancerous growth that must be cut out. He comes after the editor of the state-owned broadcaster RT, Margarita Simonyan, said in a broadcast that it was, quote, more probable that the Russian president would launch a nuclear strike than allow Russia to lose the war. Now, the thing I'm trying to understand about this is, like, launching nuclear weapons. I would assume it would be against Ukraine, because there's a big difference between, I mean, first of all, a nuclear bomb would be quite the escalation. But there's, even with as big as it is, there's a big difference between hitting Ukraine or hitting a NATO country, isn't there? I tend to think that if this happened, he would probably nuke Ukraine. But let's just read on. And meanwhile, Putin paraded his military might through Moscow and St. Petersburg in a rehearsal for the Victory Day. It is believed he was once hoping to use the parade to declare victory in the war in Ukraine. So in other words, he probably thought, it seems like he thought that this would be done sooner, and that it would be done by Victory Day, by May 9th, and they could have this parade and celebrate the victory of Russia over Ukraine. But this is the point that we're at right now. So pictures show the might of Russia's military rolling through the cities with tanks and nuclear missile launchers. Eager Russians took selfies with the military vehicles and troops, even while thousands of their soldiers have been killed and hundreds of their tanks and aircraft blown up in Ukraine. Let's see. This is military vehicles drive along the Garden Ring Road towards the Red Square for a rehearsal of the Victory Day parade in central Moscow. Here's some more pictures. Okay. The UK's Mr. Wallace told LBC Radio's Nick Ferrari, quote, "I would not be surprised that he is probably going to declare on May Day that we are now at war with the world's Nazis and we need to mass mobilize the Russian people." This is, my gosh, what was this guy again? He's the defenseman, or what was he? Okay, Britain's defense secretary is saying that. That's astounding that he would say that. He added, Putin, having failed in nearly all objectives, may seek to consolidate what he's got and just be a sort of cancerous growth within the country. Okay, so that's what we got from this article. This is Herald Sun. Let's take a look at Yahoo News. Putin is inching toward his nukes, threatening to annihilate the world if he fails to capture Ukraine, says foreign affairs expert. So this one is from today. The one that we were just reading from was from yesterday. Okay, so this one says, Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said that the risk of a global nuclear war is very real. This ominous warning came not from one deranged psychopath, like the ones who regularly demand Kyiv to be nuked on Russian state TV. These were the words of the top diplomat of the Russian Federation. So we have the UK's defense minister talking about this, talking in this way. We have Russia's top diplomat, the foreign minister, talking this way. In diplomatic parlance, Lavrov essentially admitted that their vaunted offensive in Donbass is stalling, the war is lost, and Russia has nothing to counter Western weapons pouring in Ukraine. Politically and militarily, Russia is backed into a corner. Since Putin can't accept defeat, the Kremlin is indicating that nuclear war or nuclear weapons are on the table as its last resort in this war. And again, geez, you know, I can't even fathom or understand or even speculate what would happen after that. If they hit Ukraine, what would happen after that? I don't think anybody wants a third world war. You know, would they just nuke Ukraine and then make it easier for them to actually win the war by use of nuclear weapons? I can't imagine that they would nuke a NATO country. If they did, that would be certain destruction or certain death sentence for Russia, unless like China came to its aid. But and the other thing to think about is, like, if Russia can't even take Ukraine, how could they hope to, you know, fight in a world war against multiple countries? Even if China comes to its aid, think about things like, you know, we have so many aircraft carriers, for example. The United States, we have the most aircraft carriers. I think China has one, the last I checked. I don't know how many Russia has. But I think from a naval standpoint, we have the upper hand. Just the United States alone has the upper hand. But taking in the combined strength of NATO, I think sometimes we give too much credit to China and Russia for how strong they are. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of naive with these things, but I just have a hard time seeing this actually happening. But I'm no expert. I don't know. Um, let's continue. This is nothing less than a threat to unleash an atomic war on the world. Even if Lavrov personally may not be eager to bring the end of days, now here you go. Whenever news articles bring up end of days, apocalypse, stuff like that, sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder about that. Um, may not be eager to bring the end of days, being but a minister of the Russian state, his overlord is perfectly capable of and ready for the apocalypse. Lavrov merely broadcast his master's will. In any case, this is a perfectly serious statement. I'd say it's on the same level as the infamous article, quote, on the unity of Russian and Ukrainian peoples, written by Putin last summer. In that text, the dictator made a plain commitment to destroying Ukraine as a political entity if it refuses to forego its sovereignty and get absorbed by Russia. Lavrov threatens the world with destruction if it prevents Putin from annihilating Ukraine. Okay, now I do remember Putin recently said that that Russia would act swiftly, like really fast, if anyone tries to interfere with what's going on. So I don't know if that's what they're talking about, but the thing is, if we do try to interfere, for example, we don't heed his warning. Is he really going to try and hit the U.S. or European countries? That would bring about World War II, and I don't think that Russia would win. They've got to know. He has to know that they wouldn't win.
World War Three.
What?
You said World War Two.
World War III. Sorry, I meant World War III. I obviously meant World War III. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. Um, should respond in these threats in a way that runs contrary to Putin's expectations. After launching its mad, irrational, and barbaric invasion of Ukraine, I know there's different points of view. I'm just reading what it says here. Russia has revealed that it's no longer a credible, rational actor in the international arena. World leaders realize that Russian nuclear threats are best taken seriously because the failure to do so would be prohibitively expensive. After all, the continued existence of human civilization is at stake. That is, come on. Sorry, I don't know how to interpret this scenario. I don't know if this is all just big talk. I don't know how likely it is, but it's crazy. It's crazy to be reading these things.
The news is fear-mongering.
Jenica says the news is fear mongering. No, I mean, yeah, they could be, but
Okay, I don't know. Sorry.
I don't know. One person is currently openly threatening to destroy our civilization if his ludicrous demands are not met. This is nuclear terrorism on a grand scale. It's not just some major city like New York that's at stake. It's all of humanity. I don't know. I don't know about that. Giving in to the terrorist demands is out of the question. It would only embolden him to make further demands and inspire copycats. Sooner or later, the world will have to call his bluff at one red line or another, risking a global nuclear war. The only difference is that the longer we appease the terrorist, the more powerful he becomes, and the weaker and more demoralized the rest of the world will be. Appeasement is not an option. What's left to do then? Any security service official can answer that. The only option available is to eliminate the terrorist who is holding the whole planet hostage, trying to force us all to meet his political demands. Not unlike a hypothetical asteroid hurtling towards Earth, this is a global problem that demands a global solution. Yeah, but what? How? What? Sorry, I'm just kind of flabbergasted. Howey, biblical scenarios surrounding the despot Vladimir Putin. This is the South Bend Tribune. That's from Indianapolis. Are you losing sleep at night as Russian despot Vladimir Putin continues to rattle his nuclear saber? It's a question I've been posing to Hoosier members of Congress these past few weeks. Hoosier is like a nickname for people from Indiana, if you didn't know. Quote, "You need to know I'm receiving fairly frequent classified briefings these days," U.S. Senator Todd Young told me on April 13th. "You need to know that, and now there are certain classified things I cannot discuss." When a senator begins his answer with that scary preface, we should take serious note. Quote, "What we also need to know is that we could invite the use of nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons by showing weakness, just as we could by showing too much strength," Young continued. "The president is trying to get that balance right, and he needs to because we have Vladimir Putin with nuclear capabilities. It's not clear we have the sort of protocols in place that we did during the Soviet era, as you indicated." What I had, quote unquote, indicated was that in 1962, with Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, and in 1973, when his successor Leonid Brezhnev held power at the Kremlin, they had a governing structure in place. They had to answer the Politburo, which 2 years after Khrushchev attempted to put Soviet nukes 90 miles off the Key West beach line, sacked him. Vladimir Putin has no such structure. He's a solitary strongman losing a war. Yeah, and that is kind of scary because who knows what his state of mind is. Is he at all rational in any sort of way? It almost kind of seems like he's not, but anyway, quote, "It's also not clear how stable he is, the extent to which he is prepared to escalate when push comes to shove," Young said of Putin. There are so many known unknowns that what we have right now, it's a very tense and dangerous time. This past week, Putin was at it again. Quote, this is Putin talking. "They must know that our response to counterstrikes will be lightning fast. Fast," he said just days after Russia tested its new intercontinental Sarmat, or Satan, nuclear missiles. Oh, great. Quote, "We have all the weapons we need for this. No, no one can brag about these weapons, and we won't brag about them, but we will use them." U.S. Representative Victoria Spartz returned from her native Ukraine after seeing the atrocities at Bucha, described a dire gathering threat. Quote, "We cannot be naive and not acknowledge that a major world conflict has already started," she said. "China and Russia are using a hybrid and multimodal strategy around the world to destabilize and control." The Noblesville Republican called for continued pressure on the despot Putin to get to the table and negotiate. Earlier this month, following the embarrassing sinking of its Black Sea flagship, Moskva, Russian state TV presenter Olga Skabayeva implored Rossiya 1 viewers to, quote, "recognize that the country was now fighting against NATO infrastructure, if not NATO itself." Now, that's this TV presenter's new words, but who knows if that's how Russia views it officially. One can safely call what it has. Okay, one can safely call what it has escalated into World War III. Yeah, and that's a big question. Is it happening right now? I don't know. Are these the first days of World War III? I don't know. I hope not. I kind of think not, but I'm not. I can't see into the future. Marine intel officer: Putin's nuclear posturing, his last threat. This is on News Nation. This is from yesterday. A fresh round of concerns over whether Russian President Vladimir Putin would launch nuclear missiles as part of the war on Ukraine could be driven by another issue. He is essentially out of any other credible threat. Quote, "It does appear to be part of a pattern of hyperbole, a lot of propaganda," retired Marine Intelligence Officer Hal Kempfer said Friday in an interview on News Nation Prime. And of course, you have to remember this is about the last thing that he really has to rattle. His conventional forces haven't functioned. His economy is really in a desperate strait. So the one thing he can go back and point to is, we have nuclear weapons, Kemp said. The United States and other Ukrainian allies were forced to confront the nuclear threat again this week. British Defense Secretary, this is the guy that we were talking about before, Ben Wallace, claimed that Putin could declare World War III in just 2 days, or use nuclear weapons on May 9th, the day that commemorates the end of World War II. That analysis came on the same day key members of Russian state media said it was more probable Putin would turn to a nuclear attack than accept defeat. Quote, either we lose in Ukraine or the Third World War starts, said Margarita Simonyan, editor of Russia Today. I think World War III is more realistic, knowing us, knowing our leader. Kempfer, who is also the CEO of Global Risk Intelligence and Planning, said the White House needs to better express how serious they are about the threat. They downplayed it to avoid panic, but now should be clearer about what's happening behind the scenes to assure the American people whether this is a credible threat, he said. Kempfer said there's no doubt that the United States and its allies are monitoring the activity of Russian missile locations and the status of those facilities. So, oh boy, I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say that this is not going to happen. We're not going to have World War III out of this or any nuclear bombs, but I can't say that I'm too sure about that. I'm going to give it I'm going to say that I'm 75% sure that this is not going to happen, which is lower than I would like to say, but all we can do is just watch, pray, keep the commandments, stay on the covenant path, go to the temple, do what we know we need to do. In the end, everyone that's righteous is, the righteous need not fear. Things can happen here and there. We're not immune to all of this, but the majority of the righteous are going to be just fine. And we know that the second coming is getting really close. So don't be afraid by this. Just have faith. Just know that these are the signs of the times. At first, this was just a rumor of a war. People didn't know if he was going to attack Ukraine or not. Now it is an actual war, and now we have rumors of World War III. Hopefully that does not happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. Alright, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it. Put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.